Hey everybody, it's Matt. I'm going to do a video on how to change the master cylinder on a 56 Cadillac. First, let's talk about why. I bought this Cadillac with 45,000 original miles, the engine, transmission, interior, everything all original, and the master cylinder also original. Started having some issues with the brakes. I noticed when I was coming up to a stoplight doing 50-60 miles an hour, started slowing down. The pedal would start to get soft on me. If I let my foot off and repumped it, it would start to feel better again. But then at the stoplight, as I was sitting there, the car would start to idle forward as the pedal continued to go to the floor. And so luckily, and I never completely lost brakes, but I tried several things. Before I went to this point, I checked all the wheel cylinders, checked all the lines, made sure there was no leaks. I tried bleeding the brakes. I did replace a couple wheel cylinders. Man, it would lock the tires up when you slammed on the brakes, but it just, like I said, had that soft pedal. So after all my research, believe it or not, I think this is a 1 year only master cylinder. It's a very unusual design. It actually mounts on a plate up close to the radiator, which you'll see, and instead of on the firewall like normal. And it is a power assist master cylinder setup. So not the easiest thing to replace, but I was able to get it done. Now here's the thing. I looked all over the place. I looked on eBay for a rebuild kit. I could not find one. Yes, there's kits available for other years, but this 56 seems to be a 1 year only. I also looked just even for someone that made a rebuild. I checked O'Reilly's, I checked AutoZone, every auto parts store I could think of, checked online everywhere. Finally found CPR Cadillac Restoration Parts. And their email address is caddy@cprforyourcar.com. You can look them up on the web. The master cylinder was $1,100 and with a $200 core charge. So obviously you're sending yours back so they can rebuild it and save somebody else. Let's go ahead and get to the project. We're gonna go right to my shop and I'll show you kind of how we put it together, and hopefully this will help somebody out. Thanks. I am in my shop right now and I've already started, and just kind of wanted to give you a quick walkthrough of what I did in case you ever need it yourself. Okay, I have them on the ground here, including this brake cable, or the brake bar, which I'll explain here in just a minute. So on the left obviously is the new one, and on the right is the old one. And what you're gonna have to do is take this fitting off, because that is where the brake line goes in. Obviously it doesn't come with that. That's the breather, and that's the cap to fill it up. And so these are the two vacuum lines. There's one that comes in from here and then another one from there. I'll show you where those are inside the engine. As well as this bar right here is gonna have to be swapped over to that one. So let's talk about this first, because this is the very first thing you have to remove. That is the actuator for the brake pedal. The component for that is down right here. I don't know if you can see it or not. Right there where I'm touching is there was a cotter pin, which is right here. A pin with a cotter key. Right there, there's the pin. So the first thing you gotta do is remove that. That is very important because you can't really do much with that. Sorry, these wires are in the way. I'm also doing a windshield wiper upgrade, but I'll explain that in a minute. So that bar comes through. Here's your two vacuum lines. This is the one that goes in the back. This is the one that goes in the side. And then here is your brake line right here, right next to the radiator. Very unusual master cylinder design. But what was happening is I was getting a soft pedal, and I would come up to a stoplight and the pedal would just keep sinking, and then slowly the car would start to creep forward. I had pressure. I wasn't losing any fluid. I just was getting a soft pedal. And so if you let off and then pump the brakes again, you have plenty of pressure. But I believe that's due to these the seals failing in the piston. All right, so let's go ahead and see if we can get this installed. Okay, I've got that fitting switched from the old one to the new one. Something that's worth noting is this a 3/4 socket with a 1/2 inch drive breaker bar. That's what I needed to get this off of this old one here. Now we're gonna switch this actuator bar from that cylinder over to this one. And to do that, I'm going to use a couple of different wrench sizes to make that happen. We just have 2 box wrenches. This is a 7/16 for this little nut here, and then that's a 9/16 for the to actually remove the actuator. Okay, so we've got the bar off the old master cylinder, and you can tell the distance and thread length, sorry about that,
is just about 2.5 inches on both. So we're gonna go ahead and thread that on. Of course, this is something that can be adjusted if need be, but it just threads right on there. And then when you're done, you tighten that nut, this nut right here, so that it stays in place and doesn't creep around on you there. Just threads right on, just like it's got all thread or something. And again, that's going to attach to that place there on the brake pedal. All right, so we're going to go with that right now, and we're going to tighten this up and see how that does as far as travel. But that is something that's adjustable if necessary. Okay, so the plan is we're going to lower this down right next to the oil dipstick. And something that's worth noting is that these nuts here on this bracket are welded to the bracket, and then you're going to attach that to that mounting plate right there. So we're just going to go ahead and slide this back down in here. It's hard to record and work at the same time, so forgive me if I'm making you sick. There we go. Should just drop right into place there. All right, we are in. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten those bolts up, and I'm gonna attach the brake lever back here, and I'll do another video here in just a second. Okay, sometimes I figure things out as I go myself. Originally, I had stabbed this thing in with this brake pedal bar, I don't even know what to call it, Bendix, whatever. But I decided to take it off because it was making it a little bit difficult for me to maneuver this cylinder around. So that will come off, and I'm gonna put it back on here real quick. Okay, as often is with every project, there's always something that makes it tough. And for me, these bolts right here are easy. The two underneath, this one's pretty easy. You have to have the vacuum lines off. But this one back here, man, it was a nightmare. And I think it actually stripped the thread. So what I ended up doing was taking an angle grinder, cutting off the nut that's welded to the back of this plate, and ended up just doing my own nut. That made it a lot easier. So now we're tightening up the brake line, and I always just want to remind people, brass is very soft, so be very careful when you're doing a brake line, because if you cross thread this brake line, sorry about that, then you can really screw things up, and you got to go get another one of these brass fittings. All right, but we're almost tightened up, and I'll get everything all hooked back up again, and we'll add some brake fluid and see how we do. All right, now we're going to go ahead and add some brake fluid. Remove the cap here. This is just .3 brake fluid from O'Reilly's. We'll stop there for now. Okay, so now I have the brake pedal bar pushed in with the pin, but before you set that cotter pin, you're going to want to make sure that the pedal is where you want it to be, because once you put that cotter pin in, obviously you could take it back out again, but that you want to wait, because I haven't tightened this nut down yet. I'm kind of waiting to make sure that I have the right pedal and everything before I put that cotter key pin. I'm talking about this thing. You want to wait to put this in until you're sure that the pedal's where you want it. Okay, on the 56 Cadillac, there was those two vacuum lines. One of them came from the top, which is this one right here. It's gonna slide down on there, and it's just got a flathead screwdriver hose clamp from the factory. And then this one came from the, excuse me here, got it underneath the brake rod, sorry. Okay, so this one comes from the valve cover, or intake manifold actually. So we're gonna go ahead and put that on there, get those tightened up, and then we'll be ready to test it out and bleed the brakes. Okay, now to finish off our video here, I've got the brakes bled, and now you can see the pedal stops about probably 3 inches from the floor. And it was that adjustment I showed you under the hood, where that bar comes through the firewall, where you connect it to the master cylinder. That thing is definitely key in helping you get the right length of pedal, so that you get what you need there. But right now, like I said, I have a half an inch, probably an inch of play with the pedal before it even starts to slow you down.
and then probably 3 or 4 inches before it hits the firewall. But I'll just show you real quick. In 3, 2, 1, she's got plenty of brakes. So hopefully that helps everybody. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message. Thanks a lot. This is Matt.